My name is Steve Ramirez. Um, I was a sports writer for over 30 years, covering a variety of sports from high schools and small colleges to was the number two man for our newspaper group on UCLA, covering UCLA football for 5 years, where I got to also do uh, 5 Rose Bowl games and 2 BCS National Championship games. And I've done a share of Dodger and Angel games, and even the first year of the Sparks, I helped cover the first year of the Sparks in the WNBA. So I thought I would try this out, this video blog of just my thoughts on how what's happening in the sports world. I thought it'd be kind of fun and just to see where it'll go. And I guess the first topic, since I've just started it now and a lot of things have happened over the summer, I thought I would concentrate on the big move of the summer of USC and UCLA moving to the Big Ten. When I first heard about it, I was kind of shocked about it because I hadn't heard any news that it was happening. There have been rumors in the past 2 to 5 years or so of USC becoming an independent because they didn't think they were getting the bang for their buck in the Pac-12, that they were paying more than they were getting back, just because some of the schools in the Pac-12, like Oregon State and Washington State, weren't producing a lot of revenue based on their TV ratings and such. So there's always been that talk that USC might decide to become independent, but I haven't heard any talk of UCLA deciding to move. And from my understanding is this started with USC. They, like I said, they didn't think they were getting a fair amount of money back as much as they were putting in, but they knew that to get to the Big Ten, they had to bring a partner, and they thought UCLA. They didn't want to break up the rivalry, for one, and number two, the fact that they're both in the LA market, which is the number 2 market in the country, and the number 1 market in college football. They thought that it would be a good partnership, but like I said, I was initially shocked by the move, or the announcement, and so my initial thoughts were, how could they do that? This is kind of a breakup of tradition. You think of UCLA and USC competing for the conference championship on the West Coast, and then playing the Big Ten champion in the Rose Bowl. That was kind of always the goal. I've been following UCLA football since about 1970, when I was 9 years old, and the goal was always to beat USC, get to the Rose Bowl, and win. If that happened, it was a good year. No matter what, you could go. Back then, you played 11 games, so you could go. I think one year UCLA was 6-3-2 or something like that in the regular season. So not a very good record. A little bit above 500 record, and then they beat USC. They got to the Rose Bowl, and they won the Rose Bowl, and so that is considered a great year. You get those 3 things accomplished, and that was a great year. That was the tradition. And with USC, it was beating UCLA, getting to the Rose Bowl, winning the Rose Bowl, and if you were lucky enough to be considered a top 5 team, if you could win the Rose Bowl, and chances are if you can win it handily, you had a good chance of being voted the mythical national champion. Mythical because no game is played. It's just someone says you're the best in the country. That was kind of the tradition I grew up with, following UCLA and to an extent following USC because they're UCLA's rival. So this was kind of a shock initially, and I don't think I liked it initially. But then as I started reading more about it, and I knew UCLA's athletic department was in trouble financially. And my understanding is they were using booster donations to try to cut into their deficit. But at last report, they, I believe, owed or were in debt $100 million. And on average, or in recent years, they've received from being part of the Pac-12 about 30 to 35, maybe up to 40 million a year. And so it wasn't cutting into their debt, but going to the Big Ten will, depending on what the Big Ten gets with their new TV contracts, they could get up to possibly $100 million in 1 year, basically wipe out their entire debt and then be in the black. And what that'll do for the program, for the athletic program, is they will be in the black, which will support the program, and then the money they get from boosters they could use for the NIL deals. For each, the thing now with NIL, we're now in the NIL era, and with that, schools have what they call a collective, which raises the NIL money and it passes down to the players. And you know, some schools are promising recruits that they can get them this type of deal if they come to their school. And so if UCLA and USC has that built in, then it's kind of like the high school players and even the transfers are kind of like free agents in the NFL, basically. I mean, some of those decisions they make are not going to be strictly NIL, but it's gonna speak pretty loudly. And so this move would help UCLA in that. Also, they probably can recruit a different level of athlete, both for football and basketball. As say, we're going to be playing these Big Ten schools, and so that will allow them to convince these kids who maybe have thoughts of going to the Big Ten, but they're going to be playing Big Ten schools, so they're going to get the same publicity, and their name is going to be out there while staying home. So initially, like I said, I was against the move, but now I'm for it. And another part of the talk of people against it is saying, now, how's the scheduling going to go? I think Nebraska is the closest campus to UCLA and USC, and it's about 1,100 to 1,200 miles away. And I think the way, from my reading and hearing on the radio and stuff, I think what the Big Ten's planning on doing is they're gonna have pod scheduling instead of placing teams in divisions like they are now. There'll be 16 teams in the Big Ten, and what they'll do is they'll have 4 pods of four teams each. And so in football, you probably would have an 8 games conference schedule, where you play 4 teams. You play all 3 teams of your pod, and then maybe 2 in another pod, and then 1 of each in the other 2 pods. So you're not going to be traveling to Rutgers and Maryland, which are basically almost 3,000 miles away. You're not going to be traveling to those schools every other year, like you would in a normal conference schedule. Like, well, even in the Pac-12 now, UCLA and USC take 2 years off from Washington and Oregon. So it's not like the naysayers are saying, how are they going to do this being so far away? Well, like a trip to Rutgers, for example, is about a 7-hour flight, roughly. Well, when UCLA plays at Washington State, it's about a 2 to 2.5 hour flight to Seattle, and then it's about a 4-hour bus ride to Washington State. So that's basically 6.5 hours right there. So in that sense, some of the trips are going to be a little longer, but like I said, you're only probably going to be playing 4 games in the Midwest to East. So it's not going to be that much of a problem. And in basketball, I could see where they probably have a Friday-Saturday schedule, where you might play Michigan and Ohio State or Indiana and Ohio State on a Friday, Saturday, and then fly home Sunday or something like that. I'm sure they're going to be able to work around the challenge of having 2 West Coast teams in basically a Midwest conference. So that's kind of my thoughts on it, and hope you enjoy this video, and I hope to be posting some more.